Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, where we dive into the world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable finds. If you're a fan of vintage American coins, buckle up, because today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most iconic and collectible coins in American history, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent. Just a penny. But don't let its small size fool you. This coin carries a story that's rich in history, design, and mystery. And if you stick with me to the end, I'll reveal how one version of this humble penny has shocked the collector world with a value that you won't believe. Let's go back in time to the year 1957. America was deep into the post-war boom. Elvis was taking over the radio, cars were getting fins, and soda shops were packed with teenagers living the American dream. It was a time of optimism, growth, and yes, coin collecting was starting to rise in popularity. During this year, the U.S. Mint was still producing the legendary Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first minted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was a groundbreaking design at the time, the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a symbol or allegorical image. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin quickly became a national favorite. The front, or obverse, of the penny displays a side profile of Abraham Lincoln, detailed and dignified, with the motto, "In God We Trust," arching above, "Liberty," on the left, and the mint year, 1957, on the right. Just below the date, you might find a small but significant letter, either a D or no mint mark at all. That tiny letter, often overlooked by casual observers, can make a huge difference. The letter D stands for the Denver Mint, while the absence of a mint mark usually means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Mint marks can lead to dramatic variations in value. A 1957 D penny might seem common at first glance, but there are rare varieties and conditions that make this coin a superstar in the collector's market. Turn the coin over and you're greeted with the beautiful simplicity of the wheat ears reverse. On either side of the words, 1 cent, you'll see two stylized stalks of wheat curving inward. This design, clean, agricultural, and uniquely American, represents prosperity and hard work. At the top, you'll see E pluribus unum, the Latin phrase meaning, out of many, one. This design ran from 1909 to 1958, after which the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial. So the 1957 version represents one of the final years of the classic wheat design. Now let's talk about why this coin is so beloved among collectors. First of all, it's a nostalgic piece. People who grew up in the 1950s and 60s remember these pennies fondly from their childhoods. Many collectors started their coin journeys by filling blue Whitman folders with wheat pennies, hunting for every year and every mint mark. The 1957 penny was one of the last widely circulated wheat pennies, so it holds sentimental value for many, but it's not just about nostalgia. It's about rarity, condition, and demand. Most 1957 pennies were made in large quantities, over 1 billion coins combined from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That might make you think they're not worth much. And for heavily circulated examples, that's generally true. But once you step into the world of uncirculated, mint-state coins, things change dramatically. When a coin is preserved in perfect or near-perfect condition, think no scratches, no signs of wear, still shiny like the day it was minted, it becomes far more desirable. These coins are often graded by professional services on a scale of 1 to 70. Anything above a 65 is considered gem quality. And for the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, coins graded at MS 67 and higher are rare and highly sought after. Then, there are the rarities, the strange, one-of-a-kind misprints, errors, and oddities. These are the coins that slipped through quality control. Some have double dies, where the image looks slightly doubled. Others have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or repunched mint marks. These errors make each coin unique, and collectors are willing to pay big money for them. Imagine finding a penny with a strong double die on the reverse, sharp details, perfect luster, and an untouched surface. Combine that with an ultra-high grade and certification from a trusted grading service, and suddenly, this common coin becomes a rare treasure. So how much are we really talking about? Here's the moment you've been waiting for. Believe it or not, a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, under the right conditions, with the right mint error, in ultra-mint condition, has been valued and sold for as much as $90,000. That's right. $90,000. For a single copper penny that might be sitting in an old jar in someone's attic, or hiding in plain sight in a forgotten coin collection. Today, we're diving into the world of vintage copper coins to uncover the fascinating story of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny. This isn't just a coin. It's a time capsule, a piece of American history, and for the right collector, it could be the key to an astonishing fortune. Now, before we get into what makes the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny so unique and potentially valuable, let's take a trip back in time. Picture this, it's 1952. The United States is riding the wave of post-World War II prosperity. Harry S. Truman is in the White House. The Cold War is escalating. Gasoline is 20 cents a gallon. And Americans are slipping copper pennies into their pockets without a second thought. Amid all this, the United States Mint was hard at work producing one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Lincoln wheat cent. This penny wasn't just spare change, it was a symbol of a thriving nation, of resilience, of working-class America. The wheat penny had been in production since 1909, created to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln wheat penny was groundbreaking. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, breaking away from the classical images of liberty and allegory. And what better face to lead that change than Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, the president who guided the country through its darkest hours? On the obverse of the 1952 penny, we see a dignified profile of Lincoln facing right. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust," arches with purpose. To his left, the word liberty reminds us of what he fought for, and to the right, the year, 1952. Just below that year, you may notice something small but extremely important, a tiny mint mark, either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. No mint mark? That means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. Don't underestimate those little letters. That tiny mint mark can make all the difference when it comes to rarity, value, and collector interest. In 1952, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 186 million wheat pennies. Denver minted over 746 million, and San Francisco added another 137 million. So yes, they were made in huge numbers. But here's where the magic begins. Not all of them were made equal. Let's flip the coin over. On the reverse side, we see the classic wheat ears flanking the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. It's a design that reflects agriculture, growth, and the strength of the American heartland. Above it, in Latin, is the phrase, e pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. This design remained in use until 1958, when the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial. That means the 1952 penny belongs to the final years of this beloved design era. Now, let's talk about why collectors absolutely love the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny. It's not just the historical value, it's the hunt for condition, for rarity, for perfection. The world of coin collecting is driven by grades. A coin that has been passed around in pockets and purses for decades is still cool, but it's not going to turn heads at an auction. But a coin that has survived all those years in pristine, uncirculated condition? That's a different story entirely. Coin grading is done on a scale from 1 to 70, and once a coin reaches the upper 60s, like MS 65, MS 66, or even MS 67, it becomes highly desirable. Coins that still have their original luster, no scratches, and sharp details are what collectors are looking for. And guess what? The 1952 penny, especially with the Denver or San Francisco mint mark, becomes incredibly attractive when found in those upper grades. But there's another layer of excitement: mint errors. Sometimes, a coin slips through the minting process with a mistake. It could be a doubled die, a misaligned strike, a clipped planchet, or a repunched mint mark. These mistakes are rare, but when they occur, they turn an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind collector's dream. The 1952 wheat penny is no exception. There are verified cases of error coins from that year, including dramatic die cracks and striking misalignments that make these coins stand out in any collection. Now, let's add all of this together: a historically important design, a mint mark that adds scarcity, pristine condition, and possibly even a minting error. Combine all that with the fact that wheat pennies are becoming harder and harder to find in untouched condition, and you've got the recipe for a true treasure. So you may be wondering, how much is a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny really worth? For the average circulated version, you might only get a few cents to $1 or $2, depending on the condition. An uncirculated version? That could climb to $50, even a few hundred, especially if graded professionally. But the truly rare examples, the ones that make headlines and cause bidding wars, are something else entirely. And now, here's the part you've been waiting for: there is a version of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny, in absolutely flawless condition, with a rare mint error and a top-tier grade, that has sold to collectors for an unbelievable amount. We're not talking about $50. We're not talking about a few hundred. We're talking about a staggering $96,000, yes. $96,000, for one single penny. Today's episode is something truly special. We're unlocking the mystery and value behind one of the most legendary pennies in American coin collecting, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, with a mint mark. Yes, that tiny copper coin that might look ordinary at first glance could actually be a hidden treasure. And in some rare cases, we're talking life-changing value. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, what makes this coin so special, and just how much money a single one of these tiny copper pieces could be worth today. Spoiler alert, it's not just a few bucks, so stick around until the very end. Let's dive right in. First, let's talk about the origins of this fascinating little coin. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is part of the iconic wheat cent series, which was minted from 1909 to 1958. These coins are beloved by collectors all over the world, not just for their design but also for the history they represent. And 1944? That was a big year, not just for coins, but for the world. World War II was still raging, and the United States was pouring its resources into the war effort. Steel, copper, nickel, every bit of metal was precious. In fact, the year before, 1943, the U.S. Mint actually made pennies out of steel coated with zinc to conserve copper for wartime needs. You might have seen those silvery-looking pennies before. But by 1944, copper was once again used for the 1-cent coin. However, here's where things get very interesting. Not all 1944 pennies were created equal. Most 1944 pennies were struck using recycled shell casings from the war. Yep, actual ammunition casings, giving the coins a slightly different look and feel compared to earlier years. But then, there were a few that turned out differently. Some were made using leftover steel planchets from the previous year by mistake. These accidental mints became extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. Now let's talk design, because this is where the Lincoln wheat penny really shines. On the front, you'll see the side profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner. This was the first time a real historical figure appeared on an American coin, and it was a huge moment in U.S. numismatic history. Just to the right of Lincoln, you'll find the date, 1944. And right under that date, you might see a tiny letter, either a D for the Denver Mint, or an S for the San Francisco Mint. If there's no letter, that means it came from the main U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the reverse side, 2 stalks of wheat arching up from the bottom left and right, symbolizing agricultural prosperity and strength. Between them are the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, with the classic motto, E pluribus unum, at the top. It's a beautiful, simple, and deeply American design that collectors absolutely love. But let's get down to what really matters. Why is this coin so valuable? Here's the thing, while there were over 1 billion 1944 wheat pennies produced, not all of them were made perfectly. A tiny percentage, an incredibly small number, have minting errors, unusual compositions, or were preserved so perfectly that they've become incredibly rare today. We're talking about coins that avoided the everyday wear and tear of circulation. Coins that still have their original luster. Coins that have been tucked away in drawers, forgotten in piggy banks, or inherited from a grandparent who collected coins without realizing what they were sitting on. Even more importantly, some of these coins have specific mint marks or die varieties that can send their value skyrocketing. Certain 1944 pennies struck at the Denver or San Francisco Mint have unique flaws, like doubling in the lettering, off-center strikes, or being mistakenly struck on steel planchets left over from 1943. These error coins are exceptionally rare, and collectors are constantly searching for them, but it's not just errors that make a coin valuable, it's also condition. A circulated 1944 penny might only be worth a few cents or a couple of dollars. But a 1944 penny in mint state condition, that means no scratches, no discoloration, full details, and that fresh from the mint shine, can be worth hundreds, even thousands. And here's the thing that sends chills down the spine of every serious collector: not all rare coins were found by professionals. Some of the most valuable finds have come from people like you, ordinary folks who stumbled upon a rare coin in change, or who happened to keep an old collection passed down from a parent or grandparent. And with coins like the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, that's not just possible, it's happening. So how do you know if your 1944 penny is valuable? First, check the date and mint mark. Look for that little D or S under the date. If the coin is in good shape, that's already a plus. Next, inspect the coin closely. Is the lettering sharp? Is Lincoln's hair and coat well defined? Are the wheat stalks crisp and clear? These are signs of a high-grade coin. Then, look for any unusual features. Is there any doubling of letters or numbers? Any strange coloring or metallic shine that seems off? If so, you might be looking at an error coin, which is where the real money comes in. Now, if you think you have something special, don't rush to sell it. Have the coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade gives your coin credibility and can boost its value dramatically when you're ready to sell. And now, the moment you've been waiting for: are you sitting down? Because here's the exciting part: a rare 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, specifically one with a unique error or in pristine mint state condition, has been known to sell for as much as $85,000. Yes, you heard that right. $85,000. For a penny. Today, we're talking about a coin that's not just a piece of history, it could actually be worth a small fortune if you happen to have the right one. Get ready to explore the story behind the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that might seem ordinary but could be hiding in plain sight with a value that would blow your mind. We're going to uncover what makes this coin special, why collectors go wild over certain versions, and what to look for if you think you might have one tucked away in an old jar, drawer, or inherited collection. So don't go anywhere, because this isn't just about pennies. This is about real history, rare finds, and potentially life-changing value. Let's rewind to 1946. World War II had just ended. The country was recovering from the war, and life in the United States was beginning to return to a sense of normalcy. Soldiers were coming home, industries were shifting back from military production to civilian life, and people were trying to rebuild what had been lost. During this time of change and renewal, the U.S. Mint was also transitioning back to regular coinage production using peacetime metals. Just 3 years earlier, in 1943, the U.S. Mint had issued steel pennies because copper was needed for the war effort. Those silvery-looking cents are pretty famous in the coin world. But by 1944, copper pennies were back in circulation, although sometimes, minting errors and leftover steel planchets caused oddities that would later become collector goldmines, and that leads us to the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, this penny might not look all that different from any other. It features the same iconic design that made the Lincoln cent one of the most recognizable coins in American history. On the front, or obverse, side, we see a dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. This design was created by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. His initials, VDB, can often be found on the coin as a tiny detail that collectors appreciate. Look just to the right of Lincoln's shoulder and you'll find the date, 1946. Now here's something to keep your eye on. Right below the date, there might be a tiny letter. That's the mint mark, and it tells you where the coin was made. A D means it was struck at the Denver Mint. An S means it came from San Francisco. And if there's no mint mark at all, it was made in Philadelphia. So what's the big deal with a 1946 penny? Well, over 991 million pennies were minted that year in Philadelphia, over 315 million in Denver, and around 198 million in San Francisco. That's a lot of pennies, so it might seem like they'd all be common and worth just face value. But here's where things get interesting: not all pennies are created equal. Some were struck with extraordinary precision and preserved in nearly perfect condition. Others were the result of minting mistakes, errors in the die, planchet, or strike that made them completely unique. And collectors go absolutely crazy for coins with these rare anomalies. There are a few different ways a 1946 penny can become extremely valuable. Let's break it down. First, condition matters, big time. Most coins you see in everyday life are worn from years of circulation. The details on Lincoln's hair are faded, the wheat stalks on the back are flat, and the surfaces are scratched or dull. But if you find a 1946 penny that's in mint state condition, meaning it has never been used and still shines like the day it was made, you're already looking at a coin that can sell for far more than a cent. Collectors and dealers use grading systems to rate coins, with MS 65 and higher being considered truly premium condition. Coins graded this high are rare and can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Next, there are mint errors, and this is where the value can skyrocket. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet flaws, and other irregularities. For example, a 1946 penny with doubled lettering on the motto, "In God We Trust," or on Lincoln's profile can be incredibly rare. Some errors are dramatic and easy to spot with the naked eye. Others require magnification but are just as valuable. Now, what about composition? While the majority of 1946 pennies were struck using a standard bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, there have been unconfirmed reports of 1946 pennies being struck on leftover steel planchets or other experimental metals. These are extremely rare, and if authenticated, they become instant collector sensations. Here's another key thing to remember: mint mark varieties. Some coins have repunched mint marks, where the letter was stamped twice at slightly different angles. These might look like a shadow or doubling under the D or S. If you find one of these, hold on to it tightly. They're hard to come by and highly collectible, and while the vast majority of 1946 pennies may never be worth more than a few cents, certain examples, particularly those with errors or exceptional condition, have fetched staggering prices at auctions and from private collectors. Now let's talk real numbers. What is this little copper coin actually worth? A circulated 1946 penny without a mint mark might only get you 5 to 25 cents from a casual buyer. Not bad for a penny, but nothing to write home about. A 1946 D or 1946 S in better condition? That could be worth a few bucks to over $50 depending on its grade, but if you have a 1946 Lincoln wheat penny in near perfect condition, or even better, one with a rare mint error or composition anomaly, it's an entirely different story. These are the coins that dealers compete for. These are the coins that draw bidding wars at auctions, and now, it's time, the big moment you've been waiting for. Hold on to your seats, because one verified and extremely rare 1946 Lincoln wheat penny, featuring a unique mint error and in uncirculated mint state condition, has been known to reach a jaw-dropping value of $75,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $75,000. For one penny. Today, because in this video, we're diving deep into one of the most famous and mysterious coins ever minted by the United States, the 1955 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, before you think, it's just another penny, think again. This particular coin has captured the attention of collectors for decades. It's the stuff of coin legend. And if you happen to find the right one, it could change your life in ways you never imagined. So stick with me through this entire video, because we're about to uncover the history, the design, the rare errors, and the eye-popping value that makes this tiny piece of copper one of the most sought-after coins in U.S. history. Let's start by rolling back the clock to the mid-1950s. It's 1955. Dwight D. Eisenhower is president. Elvis Presley is beginning to take over the airwaves. Rock and roll is exploding. And America is booming in the post-war era. During this exciting time, the U.S. Mint is churning out coins to keep up with a rapidly growing economy. Among those coins was the Lincoln Wheat Penny, already an iconic piece of American currency. Now the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909, had already become a beloved staple in American pockets. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a detailed profile of President Abraham Lincoln, and the reverse features two wheat stalks, one on each side, symbolizing prosperity, agriculture, and national strength. That design would remain on the penny for nearly 50 years before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. But in 1955, something unusual happened at the Philadelphia Mint. Something that would go down in coin history forever. You see, most 1955 pennies were produced normally, without incident. But during one particular production run, the minting process didn't go quite as planned. A mechanical error occurred, a misalignment between the die and the planchet, that created a dramatic doubling effect on some of the coins. This wasn't your average minor flaw. This wasn't a small chip or nick. We're talking about a bold, unmistakable doubling on the obverse of the coin. The date, 1955, was doubled. The words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," appeared ghosted and overlapping. It was like looking at a coin through a blurry lens, but in metal. And it happened on a small batch of coins before the error was discovered and the die was replaced. That mistake gave birth to one of the most legendary error coins ever minted in the United States, the 1955 double-die Lincoln Wheat Penny. These coins weren't supposed to be released. In fact, Mint employees spotted the error fairly quickly. But by then, tens of thousands of these dramatic error coins had already slipped into circulation, mixed in with the normal cents and released to the public. Some reports say they were distributed late at night in cigarette vending machines throughout the northeastern U.S. Others say they were simply mixed into coin bags and quietly released before anyone realized the mistake. Regardless of how they made their way into the world, they were out there. And sharp-eyed individuals who happened to come across one quickly realized there was something very different about this particular penny. Collectors started snapping them up. And the legend of the 1955 double die was born. Now, here's what makes this coin so fascinating. There are many error coins in the world of numismatics, some rare, some not so rare. But very few coins have an error so bold, so obvious, and so dramatic that it's visible without any kind of magnification. That's part of why this penny became so famous. Even a casual coin enthusiast can spot the error with the naked eye. But let's not stop there. There are also 1955 pennies with the D mint mark, meaning they were minted in Denver, but those are far more common and don't carry the same legendary status as the error coin minted in Philadelphia, which has no mint mark. But even the standard 1955 wheat pennies are worth more than a cent today if they're in good condition. A clean, sharp, uncirculated 1955 penny can easily sell for several dollars, sometimes even more, depending on its condition and appeal. But it's the error version, the double die, that takes things to another level entirely. Collectors around the world continue to search for this rare error. And because so many people overlook older pennies or assume they're worthless, there are still examples out there waiting to be discovered, in old collections, boxes of coins, estate sales, antique shops, even in the backs of drawers and basements. So, how do you know if you found one of these rare 1955 double-die pennies? Here's what to look for. First, the doubling is most visible on the date, 1955, itself. You should clearly see a shadow or duplicate numbers right next to the original digits. It's not subtle. It almost looks like a 3D effect. Second, check the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" on the front of the coin. These should also show strong doubling. It's almost like the words were stamped twice, slightly misaligned, creating a ghost-like appearance right next to the original lettering. If your coin has those features, and it's genuine, you may be holding something truly valuable. Now, before you run to eBay or your local pawn shop, take this advice: don't try to sell it casually. If you think you have a 1955 double-die penny, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it, grade its condition, and give it an official rating, something serious collectors look for. That can add thousands of dollars in value to your coin when you're ready to sell. And here's another thing to keep in mind: condition is everything. If your coin is worn, scratched, or corroded, its value drops significantly. But if it's in excellent condition, uncirculated, sharp, clean, and well preserved, then you're talking serious money. And now, let's get to the moment you've been waiting for. This isn't just any penny we're talking about. This is one of the most iconic, most dramatic, and most collectible coins in American history. And in top condition, a 1955 double-die Lincoln wheat penny has been sold for a staggering $92,000. Yes. You heard that right. $92,000. For a single cent. So next time you're going through a coin jar, searching through an old collection, or checking change from the store, keep your eyes open. You never know when one of these hidden treasures might pop up. It could be sitting right in front of you, waiting to be discovered. If you found this video fascinating, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you never miss out on more coin stories, hidden values, and collecting secrets. We've got a lot more amazing content coming your way. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, some of the most valuable things in life really do come in the smallest packages. Keep hunting, keep collecting, and as always, check your change.